To that press briefing now, the ANC Youth League President Collen Malatji is speaking to us.
We all know that she passed on at a very young age, and was saying that the whole creative industry and everyone else condolences. The state of the youth and the country, South African state of the youth is disheartening and demoralizing. When situations are getting worsened, there's little room for hope. And the hope that should be driven by the youth of this country. High level of crime, unemployment, substance abuse, poverty, minimum access to higher education. The inspiration of South African youth to engage in entrepreneurial opportunities must be supported. We call upon the President of the country. We demand that we expand the public procurement bill, aiming to enforce the transformation of the youth through the involvement of small businesses. Because any big economy in the world are mainly driven by small businesses. We've reached an extent whereby we've deindustrialized to a point where even a small thing, like basic items, are manufactured outside the country, like countries like China, including a small thing like an underwear, you'll get it manufactured outside the country. We're saying as the ANC Youth League that we're re-emphasizing our position on the industrialization as an important tool for job creation, as an important tool to open for the youth of this country to fully participate in their own economic activities of their own country. The Youth Employment Program. Implement a large-scale and target the youth employment program to provide meaningful work opportunities, skills development, and mentorship. We call upon also the private sector to not sit back and watch. We're saying the private sector must play a very crucial role in the creation of employment for the youth and business opportunities. Because we've seen that a lot of private companies utilize illegal foreigners to exploit them in the middle of a high level of unemployment of the youth. We're saying that Department of Labor, Department of Employment, must be able to set up clear systems to make sure that all employment opportunities are given to the youth of the country. We are aware that a lot of companies in South Africa, a job that is supposed to be done by 10 people is done by one person. Those are part of the programs that we believe that the Department of Labor must wake up and force and discipline the private sector, because for the longest time, we have not been able to discipline the private sector to play an important role in this country, because they're the biggest beneficiaries of economic activities of this country. We're calling upon the Department of Higher Education to play a crucial role in the reskilling of the youth, so the skills reflect the economic activities of this country. We can't have a lot of young people roaming around the streets when there's a lot of budget in the cities, in all corners, being taken back to treasury, when the youth of this country are running around the streets doing nothing, getting involved in crime. When the government of today have set aside a budget, we're saying that those departments which are not spending their budget on youth development, we're calling upon the president to urgently act on them. Enough is enough. We can't have departments or people responsible for those departments sitting at home while majority of the youth of this country are suffering when there's a budget for them to resolve their problems. On NSFAS, we're very clear as the Youth League that we're fighting for a free, compulsory universal education. And we're saying the ANC Youth League rejects the NSFAS budget cuts. We urge the National Treasury to reprioritize the budget cuts away from health and education. The first biggest problem that we have is the corrupt CEO, or must I say the suspended, useless CEO, who introduced systems that later affected the students. We're saying that in the middle of a crisis that we're in, we can't have a progressive government that is biased to the poor of the working class, who do budget cuts in areas like NSFAS. Because majority of black South Africans benefit from the NSFAS system. Now, when you do a budget cut on NSFAS, you are simply saying that the kids of the poorest must not have access to education. And as the ANC Youth League was saying, Treasury must urgently increase, not even cut, must increase the budget of NSFAS to benefit majority of South Africans. While we are still fighting for a free compulsory education to be implemented, NSFAS becomes an intervention to the poor of the poorest in South Africa. And we're saying the corruption at NSFAS is an enemy of the people of South Africa. You can steal from people who have nothing already. Now, when you steal money from NSFAS, when we are told that there were bogus accounts of students, of people who were claiming to be students receiving money from NSFAS, and there's no clear acting and arrests on it, then it's a problem. We're saying those who are seen or found wanting must immediately be arrested and moved away from NSFAS. We're saying the Minister of Higher Education must stop sleeping on duty. We don't want excuses when it comes to people who steal from the youth of South Africa. We're saying if the minister does not urgently remove those involved in the corruption in NSFAS, we're calling upon him to be removed, because it's clear that if he can't remove them, it means he's involved in the corruption. On UIF, the UIF, through its labor activation program, has approved 25 projects committed to jobs, enterprise development opportunities that can employ over 69,000 youth in South Africa. The program committed to approve a project of 2.2 billion of the available 2.8 billion. This program will train young people to install solar panels, business development support, enterprise development, agri-processing, tourism and hospitality, empower TVET college graduate placements. Now, it's a program that we're saying must be implemented. And we're calling upon the Treasury again. You know, this Treasury, National Treasury, I'm starting to believe that it's working with those that want to take the ANC out of power. Everything that the National Treasury does, it's anti-South Africans. I don't know who they represent, this Treasury, because even when it comes to this clear program that was a pronouncement on by the President, everyone else, there is a lack of funding and implementation from that level. We're saying Treasury must urgently fund these programs as an intervention on the crisis that we're facing as a country of high unemployment of the youth. The youth can continue to be unemployed when there's a budget set aside for them to resolve their own problems. Now, we're saying the Treasury Department must urgently act. Failure to, those that are responsible for that department must step aside and allow progressive people to take the country forward. We can't sit back and watch the National Treasury being used by those who want to take the ANC out of power as a tool to take the ANC out of power. We know very well that some of them are progressive because some of their policies that they make there are clear that they will never implement any pro-poor programs.